Chapter 2. Roadie felt a thrill of anticipation curling in his belly, a spark that ignited his very spirit. This alien universe, bristling with mystic power and populated by beings of myth and lore, promised a journey unlike any other. He was a seasoned traveler, his multiverse jaunts taking him from realms twinkling with stardust to lands where dreams and nightmares intertwined. Yet this realm, where magic seemed to permeate the very air, was a divergence from his familiar trails. "Looks like it's not a walk in the park this time, eh?" Roadie murmured, his gaze roaming over the spectral landscape. Each breath he took tasted of enchantment, danger, and the untold stories that lurked within the shadows. It was a cocktail of excitement and fear, tantalizingly intoxicating, promising an adventure that would push him to his limits. A constellation of thoughts danced across his mind, as varied and vivid as the tapestry of existence itself. The mysterious sorcerers, the bewitching mystics, and the fantastical creatures that painted this world were all threads in a narrative yet to be spun. It was a tale waiting to unravel, a tale that now intertwined with his own. Roadie looked up at the velvety darkness overhead, at the glittering stars that played peekaboo with the fleeting clouds. He had traveled through countless universes, had seen stars burn out and new ones birthed in cosmic explosions. Yet here, under this foreign sky, he felt a sense of wonder that made his heart throb with anticipation. "Are you ready for this, Roadie, old boy?" he asked himself, his soft growl swallowed by the night. The universe seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his answer. With a determined glint in his eyes, Roadie nodded to himself, an unspoken pledge lingering in the silence. This realm was about to pen the grandest chapter in his cosmic adventures. He knew not what awaited him in this mesmerizing, magical land, but he was resolved to meet it head-on. The realm Roadie found himself in was a striking tapestry of the uncanny and the terrifying, woven together in a manner that captivated and chilled him simultaneously. The air here was thick with an otherworldly energy, a force that pulsed like a living heart, permeating every rock, every leaf, every creature. It was a force that could be tamed and molded, shaped by the inhabitants of this world into feats of magic or deadly weaponry. The intoxicating allure of such power mingled with a primal fear, creating an unsettling equilibrium that Roadie found himself precariously balanced upon. "Welcome to the land of nightmares and daydreams, Roadie," he murmured, his voice barely a ripple in the swirling cosmic symphony, his eyes sparkling with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. As he moved deeper into this world, each breath he took tasted of magic, of possibility, of 1,000 untold stories waiting to unfold. And with every moment, the veneer of the ordinary peeled away, revealing the extraordinary beneath. The vegetation here seemed to whisper tales of old, every rustling leaf a secret, every creaking branch a saga. The rocks under his paws hummed with ancient knowledge, while the wind carried the distant echo of enchantments. Roadie looked up, the azure sky adorned with winged creatures soaring fearlessly. Their scales caught the sunlight, scattering it into 1,000 brilliant shards, making the skies a dancing canvas of colors. In the shadows of the dense forests lurked creatures of every shape and size, their eyes gleaming with cryptic intelligence. From the smallest bug that glowed with ethereal light to the towering behemoths that caused the earth to tremble beneath their weight, each creature was a testament to the wild, unbound imagination of this universe. It was a bizarre spectacle. One moment, he would be admiring a serene grove filled with luminescent flora. The next, he'd be cautiously avoiding the path of a wandering gorgor, its colossal form blotting out the sun. Yet, within this chaos, there was a strange order, an underlying rhythm that echoed the primal beat of existence itself. "This realm, it's incredible. Terrifying, yes, but incredibly so," Roadie whispered to himself. His heart pounded with anticipation, his senses heightened by the allure of the unknown. His multiverse jumps had taught him one thing: to expect the unexpected. Yet this world, with its sorcerers, mystics, and mythical creatures, was rewriting that lesson. As Roadie continued his exploration, he knew he was treading on a path where each turn could mean discovery or danger, yet he was undeterred. He was not just a talking dog, he was Roadie, the multiverse explorer, and this was his next big adventure. The land of sorcerers and beasts was his new playground, and he was ready to dive in headfirst into whatever lay ahead. With an explorer's heart beating a wild rhythm within his furry chest, Roadie set forth to unravel the mysteries of this spellbinding universe. His eyes, as wide and bright as twin moons, sparkled with unquenchable curiosity, drinking in every extraordinary detail this magical realm offered. It was an intoxicating frenzy of sensations, each more bewildering than the last, yet Roadie was unflinching in his zeal. The loamy scent of the earth beneath his paws, mingled with the intoxicating aroma of magic, was a constant companion as he trotted down narrow paths. The crunch of fallen leaves echoed in the silence, each crisp sound telling a story of a world forever in the throes of supernatural transformation. He marveled at the aged trees that towered above, their boughs whispering secrets as ancient and profound as the universe itself. Their gnarled roots dipped and coiled, an intricate network that seemed to pulse with an unseen life force. "Stories, all of you," Roadie mused aloud, his gaze flicking between the whispering trees. "But which of you would speak them to a curious hound?" The hushed forests gave way to vast meadows where an abundance of wildflowers held court. Every hue one could imagine, and even those beyond comprehension, were represented here. They swayed in the gentle breeze, an undulating sea of color against the emerald backdrop. Each flower was alive with a unique energy that shimmered around it, an aura that was invisible but palpable, a silent testament to the world's imbued magic. "Such beauty," Roadie muttered to himself, his words creating tiny ripples in the quietude. He glanced down at a radiant bloom, its vibrant petals unfurling in a slow dance. "And yet, you are more than just a feast for the eyes, aren't you? You hum with life, with power." Crossing these meadows, Roadie felt an invigorating thrill, a surge of adrenaline that made his tail wag in anticipation. His senses were alive, more heightened than ever before. He could hear the rustle of the grass under the delicate footfalls of unseen creatures, smell the fragrant notes of magic that wafted from the flowers, and see the subtle shift of energy that coalesced and danced around him. It was a feast for the senses, a mind-boggling carnival of the extraordinary, and Roadie, the talking, multiverse-traveling dog, was right at the center of it. Every sight, every scent, every sound was a thrilling mystery waiting to be unraveled. It was a realm that defied logic, and yet it was becoming his reality. He couldn't help but shudder in exhilaration. With the unknown world sprawling before him, Roadie's attention was abruptly snagged by a strange sight. Figures emerged from the thicket, their silver hair catching the dappled forest light, casting an almost ethereal glow around them. Their eyes, as golden as the heart of a dying star, sparkled with an unspoken knowledge that spanned across eras. The silver swords they carried didn't simply reflect the sunlight, they danced with it, an entrancing ballet of light and power. These, Roadie soon discovered, were the sorcerers. "They're like walking poems," Roadie murmured to himself, mesmerized by their grace. The sorcerers moved with an ease that contradicted their lethal poise. They seemed to inhabit a space between the mundane and the arcane, warriors who straddled two worlds. Each sorcerer was a study in controlled power, their muscles taut yet fluid, a quiet testament to countless battles fought and monsters tamed. They wore their scars like badges, a proud testament to their duty. There was a duality to them that was as compelling as it was unsettling. It was clear they were revered, but fear was never too far behind in the eyes of those who watched them pass. Roadie, the curious explorer he was, decided to learn more. "Excuse me," he barked up at one sorcerer, a formidable figure who towered over him. The sorcerer paused, an eyebrow arched in mild surprise as he regarded the talking dog. "What brings a hound like you to our parts?" His voice was like the rustle of autumn leaves, filled with an ageless weariness and undeniable resolve. "A bit of exploration," Roadie replied, his tail wagging despite the gravity of their conversation. "But tell me, what are you?" The sorcerer's lips twitched into an almost smile. "We are the sword in the darkness," he began, "the guardians between mankind and the beasts of myth. Our duty is to maintain balance where imbalance seeks to wreak havoc. We carry the burden of our knowledge, our power to protect those who cannot protect themselves." Roadie, ever the quick learner, nodded at the sorcerer's words. A spark of respect ignited within him for these silver-haired warriors. They were not just wielders of magic and might, they were the thin line that kept chaos at bay. "I see," Roadie said, looking up at the sorcerer with renewed understanding. "A commendable duty." Indeed, the sorcerers were far more than what met the eye. They were guardians, protectors, heroes in their own unassuming way. Roadie's journey in this world of magic and myth had introduced him to these amazing beings, leaving him in awe and more intrigued than ever. Who knew what else this multiverse-hopping hound would uncover in this land of sorcerers and beasts? Whatever it was, Roadie knew he was ready to take it all in, one magical stride at a time. Even as Roadie's understanding of the sorcerers deepened, another piece of this fantastical puzzle introduced itself. The mystics, women of breathtaking allure and profound wisdom. They inhabited this world just as the sorcerers did, not as mere residents but as essential weavers of its magical tapestry. "Who are they?" Roadie asked, his gaze fixed on a group of mystics. They moved with a choreographed grace, their hands conducting unseen forces as their lips whispered incantations that seemed to breathe life into the very air. "They are the mystics, the spell weavers of our world," the sorcerer responded, his voice holding a tinge of reverence. "Just as we command the blade, they command the threads of the universe, a force of both creation and destruction." The mystics were not just practitioners of magic. They were its essence. Their presence seemed to hum with an undercurrent of raw, elemental power. They shaped energy as a potter-shaped clay, forming spells that danced on their fingertips, glinting like sunbeams on a clear morning. And they were more than just their magic. Their intellect was as legendary as their beauty, making them invaluable advisors and formidable adversaries. The mystics didn't just inhabit this world. They were its backbone, a stabilizing force amidst the chaos. Roadie watched in awe as one mystic conjured a globe of shimmering light from the air, her face lit with an inner flame that mirrored the pulsating orb. She was a being of energy, a woman of intellect, a creature of unimaginable power. She embodied the spirit of the mystics, luminous, commanding, and utterly captivating. "Their knowledge of the universe is deep, Hound," the sorcerer continued. "More than once their counsel has swayed the course of our history. Their magic, their wisdom, it gives them influence, and yet they are not without their own battles." Roadie's interest piqued. "Battles?" he questioned, his tail wagging slightly in intrigue. "Every coin has two faces, Roadie," the sorcerer mused, his gaze thoughtful. "Just as we face the creatures of the dark, they grapple with the shadows within the folds of magic. It's a precarious dance, but it's what keeps our world spinning." Indeed, the sorcerers and mystics were fascinating to Roadie, but it was the creatures of this realm that truly held his interest. They were like characters drawn out from an old fairy tale, yet they were far from being just stories. They were alive and real, as tangible as the earth under his paws and the wind on his snout. "See those, pup?" said the sorcerer one twilight, as Roadie's eyes followed the ephemeral specters swaying gently in the woods. The wraiths, as they were called, danced like ribbons of moonlight caught on a soft breeze, their forms constantly shifting between here and the hereafter. There was a mesmerizing sadness to their dance, a symphony of ancient sorrows, but their eerie beauty couldn't veil the threat they posed. "The ethereal wraiths, harbingers of sorrow and vengeance, beware, for they are not as frail as they seem." Then there were the Gorgors, creatures that struck awe and terror in equal measure. These colossal beasts, akin to mountains on the move, bore scales of iridescent hues that were as tough as the rarest metal. One sighting of a Gorgor was enough to instill a sense of insignificance and wonder in Roadie. "That, Roadie," the sorcerer announced with an upward gaze, "is a Gorgor. Remember, their outer shell is as hard as obsidian, but their hearts are as soft as molten wax. They are not our enemies, unless provoked." However, it was the sylphs that Roadie found most enchanting. These beings of delicate grace, with wings shimmering like a cascade of prismatic dewdrops, flitted through the forests in flashes of refracted light. Their songs wafted through the air, sweet and melancholic, capable of mending a wounded spirit or lulling a fierce beast. They were healers, nurturers of the world, "Bask in their songs, pup," the sorcerer whispered, as the melodious tones washed over them. "The sylphs sing the music of life itself." With each new discovery in this beguiling realm, Roadie found his senses quickened, his instincts sharpened. Here, amidst the sorcerer's shimmering spells and the mesmerizing songs of the sylphs, his heart thrummed with a peculiar mix of exhilaration and apprehension. An omnipresent frisson of danger threaded through the beauty, a thrill that set his tail wagging in a paradox of emotions. He was like a dog who had sniffed out an entirely new and perplexing scent, a scent laden with both promise and peril. He had always been a curious hound, his nose invariably leading him into unexpected predicaments. Yet this world was unlike any other he had encountered in his journeys through the multiverse. It wasn't just the presence of the mystical or the mythical that made it unique. Rather, it was the delicate balance of raw nature and raw power, the intertwining dance of man, magic, and monster that marked it as something truly special. "This isn't like a Saturday morning cartoon, eh, Roadie?" Gared, the gruff sorcerer with a mysterious smile, remarked one day, his eyes glinting with unspoken tales. "No, it certainly isn't," Roadie woofed in agreement, his gaze straying to the distant silhouette of a gorgor against the horizon. The creature's immense size and daunting presence, a testament to the tangible fantasy this universe held. Yet even with the constant thrum of danger, the talking dog couldn't deny the infectious allure this realm held for him. The call of the wild, the intoxicating thrill of the unknown, appealed to his adventurous spirit. Every twisted tree seemed to whisper secrets of ancient times. Every glistening river bore stories of legendary battles, and every rustle of the wind seemed to carry the melodies of age-old spells. His dreams, usually filled with ordinary doggy delights like an endless supply of bones or a never-ending game of fetch, had taken on a new hue. They were now imbued with images of him running alongside the sorcerers, battling beasts with a courage he didn't know he had, and jumping through shimmering portals to yet unexplored universes.